now, here are your hosts, Janet Hickox and Roger Wetzel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Empower You. I'm your host, Janet Hickox, and I have my co-host, Roger Wetzel, here with me today. Hello, Roger.
Hi, Janet. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great.
Wintry day. I am so ready for spring. I've already started planting seeds.
It's already spring. What are you talking about? It's like 50.
You know, we both grew up in Southern California. Spring was not 50.
No, that's true.
It feels like it up here. That's kind of fun.
It does.
Today, we have some interesting territory that we're going to be moving into as we talk about Tales from the Other Side with our wonderful our guest host, medium Tracey Lockwood. Hello, Tracey. How are you today?
Hello. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Tracey.
Good morning. Good to see you, Roger.
Or a good afternoon, wherever you are.
Sorry, maybe afternoon.
We're good.
Yeah. Now, Tracey's first memory was of the faces of those in spirit visiting over her crib. In her 20s, she was proficient in the spiritual gifts mentioned in the Bible, the tongues, speaking in tongues, interpretation, prophecy, visions, dream interpretation, and the laying on of hands. She explored several religious philosophies, and in 2010 was formally recognized as a clairvoyant and empathic medium during her training at Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Science in England. And Tracey is also the host of a couple of different radio shows. She's also been on my Living Astrology radio show. She is quite accomplished as a medium. Welcome, Miss Tracey.
Oh, thank you so much, Janet. I was really excited that you offered this for me to be able to speak. I've not done this modality before, and I'm pretty excited about it. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And, you know, you get more comfortable with it as time goes on. And so for us anymore, it feels like just natural talking to one another. We just get to see each other. That's the fun part about using this platform. And, you know, for Roger and I, this is territory we have not crossed into.
Not yet. Not on the air anyway.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. So, you know what? Tell us a little bit about your background and what does it mean to be a medium? Because maybe some people don't understand the difference between a clairvoyant and a medium.
Oh, interesting. Well, as far as my background, as you've mentioned, it's something that I've sort of done, felt, seen, heard all my life. I didn't really recognize the term medium for a long time because there's so many different terminologies associated with mediumship, and that, you know, the average person might not know. I probably surprised people when you mentioned some of the spiritual gifts of the Bible being associated with mediumship, because there's such a perception of mediumship being sort of on the dark side, you know, doing things that are, you know, shady and against a divine power. But for me, the synchronicity between the two, or the balance between the two, is pretty clear. And I think of everyone being psychic. I don't really see that that there's a difference. I think everyone has that innate ability, and I see it along kind of a continuum where if you start over here, you've got instinct. Everybody has instinct. It's that animal instinct of survival: hot, cold, keep warm, keep you know, cooled off, food, clothing, shelter, sex, the basics of survival, safety. And then beyond instinct, most people acknowledge that they have a degree of intuition. They agree, you know, that they might joke about it. They might say, well, I have it, but I don't listen, and they make fun of that. Or they might say, no, I'm quite good. I'm very intuitive. They're very aware that they have this other aspect to themselves. And that, in the biblical equivalent, is the word of knowledge. You just know. You just know. And it's a gift. It's an understanding that goes beyond your basic instinct.
Mm-hmm.
The point that it becomes psychic is when you don't know how you know. When you say something and it sounds really smart, or it's really no way that you would have known it, and you ask yourself, whoa, how did I know that? And that psychic ability is the word of wisdom. It's knowing something beyond the norm. And it extends a little further along that same continuum from instinct to intuition to psychic ability. And it becomes mediumship at the point that you can answer the question, how did I know? When you can answer the question and say, oh, that was my grandmother, or that was your grandmother, and she looks like this, and she would have this or that, and describing. And so that gift is called the discerning of spirits. And that's identifying, classifying, sometimes it's dumbed down to the point where it's like good, bad, but there's so much more there. And as you develop that aspect of your intuitive continuum there, it becomes more specific and more detailed when you're looking at someone that is in that other range. And so that's the discerning of spirits. And then, people in more conventional churches like Pentecostal churches, for instance, the practice of speaking in tongues and the gift of interpretation are utilized. Speaking in tongues is speaking in the language of the speaker on the other side, or in spirit. It's the tongues of men and angels. And where's that coming from? It's coming from the other side. And when you have the interpretation of tongues, that's explaining that message in the language of the listener. And it says, tongues are not really useful if you don't have the interpretation. And so someone that has developed their intuitive spectrum along to convey those gifts, those messages accurately, can provide evidence, can provide imagery, and sometimes exact quotes of things that people have maybe exchanged while they were here in this life. And that's where you get into evidentiary mediumship. And that is the equivalent of channeling. Tongues and interpretation would be considered channeling. Sort of a different view. Nobody taught me that other than my guides. That's just kind of a connection that I made because I did have visions and dreams, and I did AKA prophecy, which we would call fortune telling. Now, I just hate that word. I feel like I should have long nails and a turban, and I should have really
crystal ball in front of you.
Something, maybe some, I don't know. But anyway, prophecy, all that is a feel for where things go. And, people can test whether or not the future can be told. And I believe that you have to be very careful in what you tell someone about the future, because some things are written. They're going to happen. I don't care what you do. You can wish it's going to be different, but it's not. And then other things are flexible, and it's like, if you go down this path, it will end up this way. If you choose this path, this way. And the reason for that is we have two levels of our will. We have our etheric will, which is the high soul will. That's the one that's never violated. That's the one that, for our Christian listeners, are mentioned in the Bible, that the will of man cannot be violated, and the angels serve the will of man or bow down to it. They don't actually bow down to us. They're just facilitating things. And of course, angels and guides come in with us into this lifetime to facilitate that. Our angels facilitate that etheric will. Our guides are here because we have another level of our will, and that is our material will. And our material will is violated frequently. Did you
Yeah.
Interference.
Earth is not, I kind of think of it like Earth, or this physical plane, is like sort of a zip drive of energies. It's like a compressed area where all these wills are crushed together, and there's a duality of being where we have my body and your body, and we're here to learn those kind of things when we're here, but our material will is facilitated by our guides. And And for a lot of our listeners, they may not differentiate between an angel, a guide, and say a spirit or an ancestor that's crossed over. A lot of people might say, oh, my grandmother is my guide. Technically, no. Is she helping you? Yes. Is she present? Yes. Does she facilitate some things? Yes. But I consider people that have crossed over that we knew are facilitators. And then at a higher level of achievement on the other side, a higher vibrational plane, we have our guides. And then at a higher level still, we have the angels. And so all of those interplay when you're doing a reading or when you're thinking about the future, they all come into play with that. And so there you go.
Because I always think of them as the same, like guides, angels. I kind of lump them all together into this one kind of group of helpers on the other side. I've never thought of them as different.
Yeah, most people do, and I think that's sliding along that scale. You know, it's gone into the mediumship end, the discerning of spirits, and being able to differentiate, identify, classify those. And it's just an amazing thing. I don't even know how far it goes because, of course, everything is infinite and eternal. So the matrix is just fascinating. You know, we
don't know how deep it goes.
I don't know. I think it's like a fractal, and then I wonder, like, where are we in that fractal? And that's a discussion for another day.
You know, I'd like to go back and try and get a little bit of clarity about what you were saying earlier about your experiences when you were in your 20s and you were involved in the Christian tradition. As you were talking, one of the things that struck me is if you have those gifts in that setting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because God knows, Janet knows, I can just say things that come out of nowhere. It seems like if you don't take responsibility and don't ask and don't want to know, then those gifts are from God. But the moment that you start to take responsibility and start tapping in to where those things and those messages are coming from, then you're coming from the opposite side of God, which is you're in league with the devil. So to speak.
My God, I think I love you, Roger. That's a really cool way to look at that. Yes, it's a matter of perception. You know, I had a friend that I prayed with, and we had the most amazing experiences. And while I was in the Pentecostal church, we would have simultaneous visions and visit realms and, you know, see the other side and all of that. But once the label medium got slapped on my forehead, along with probably 666.
Or is that on your back?
You know, her perception of what it is that I do really changed, you know, and nothing changed inside of me. I've just done this naturally all my life. In fact, I think it was my influence on her that opened up her abilities at that time. You know, I'm using a different language today. I'm using kind of a new age theosophical, you know, spiritualism kind of terminology, but the practicalities of it are actually identical. There is no difference, you know, and an angel is an angel. You know, if you're channeling the angels, are you less of the devil than, you know, like, and you know, it's just a perception, and you know, we have to always listen to our authentic self. In my mind, what I do, I am a truth specialist. So when someone calls me, whether they're looking at the past, they're looking at what's going on around them in the present, they're looking into their future for a particular topic, career, family, whatever, moving, whatever, if they're wanting to know about their past lives, if they're wanting to communicate with someone who has passed, my job is to be a passive conduit or an active conduit, I guess would be better, to bring through that information. I don't know anything. And when I first started doing readings, I started to worry, like, oh my God, I don't know anything. I don't know. I hope I can, do a good job with that person because they're paying money to sit with me and it's their life and good Lord, Mm-hmm. And so my guides, I would say, I don't know how to do this. I'd be driving and just kind of, oh my God, I'm going to the office, and they would say, you know what, you don't know, but we do. So trust us. And what's interesting is you go along that continuum, you realize that that voice that you think is your intuition isn't yours after all. It actually is the voice of your joy guide or your gatekeeper, which is the childlike spirit that's around each of us that is so close to us that we would think that it's our own voice. That's how close they are. And that's, and people wonder, like, well, how many guides do we have? And for me, I know 18 of mine by name and language and personality and some detail, but there are many more. And I believe we each come in with almost a constellation or galaxy of guides and angels and other beings around us. We have totem animals, we have elementals, we have star people, and all of those categories I didn't initially AKA believe in, but as you continue to open your mind and expand your experience, you start encountering things that you would never think of. And my readings are, it's so interesting to me to see that blend between the evidentiary mediumship, the proof that you're talking to somebody, mm-hmm. that it's not just, oh, your grandmother's there and she's telling you she loves you, and people are looking at you like, she said she loves me, like
she always hated me. She cut me out of her will.
Right. It has to be the truth. And then seeing and experiencing things that just blow my mind that I would never in a lifetime have thought of. And, sometimes they've encountered those thoughts before and there's confirmation. Oh, yeah, another medium told me that. Or sometimes it's the first time. There's that sort of importance of documenting that you are speaking to someone and clarifying that that is a reality for that person. And then there's sort of the fun place, which is past lives. How am I going to prove that? I don't know. Does it resonate with you? If it resonates, awesome. If it gives you something to think about, awesome. I know that I see it. I know that it's truth, but I have no way of proving that to you. And I have other people that come to me and they have no interest at all in talking to dead people. They're like, no, thank you. Just tell me what's going to happen. Is he meant for me? That
of course. One of the universal questions that you get.
Oh, I never tire of it. And It's so interesting and I never get tired of what I do because the personal contact, I feel like I talk to people all the time. So I get kind of reclusive when I get home because I've already talked to people on this side and the other side. I've had quite the social occasion, but people's personalities survive. When we have gone when we've gone to the other side, the only thing that really changes is our fact that we don't have a physical body. Our personality is the same. Our state of mind is the same. And that influences very much what people are experiencing. People always want to know, how is so-and-so doing? And, I could give them a blank answer and go, oh, they're just fine. But they really want to know how they're doing. And so I go deeper and I talk to them about how they experienced their transition and how they felt as they left their body and what happened and who was there and all of that kind of thing. And so that crossing over experience does bring us tales from the other side.
Yay! And that brings us to a break. We're going to break really quickly, but I want to start talking about some of the stories that you have from people on the other side when we come back from the break. So we're going to take just a minute and we'll be right back.